G'day, g'day, g'day. It's Mathematical KM, Keith Molumby, um, going over round one of the Tugg Chess Club in Canberra Club Championships, wheeling out the water horse. 1434 for me, 1800 elo for my opponent over the board, 60 minutes plus 30 seconds, and let's see how we go. Rushing through, that's pretty much the standard first three moves for the hippo. White develops, bring out another pawn, just so I can do the Lego jig. If he pushes a pawn there forward, he's now got a battery, the queen and the bishop headed for h6, hence that's the right move. I don't want that inaccuracy, you silly coach. That's the thing to do. He brings another bishop out behind his central pawns. Now, by rights, and I know this now, I should be getting ready to play c5 and bringing the knight behind it. Oh, maybe first moving my g knight to e7. Really, the key thing is not moving my light squared bishop until it's impossible for an f-pawn push by white. Castles, just said, wrong thing to do, but fortunately I'm not punished for that transgression in this game, but we'll keep going. And we were talking about that f-pawn push. If he does push it forward, I've got one defender, two defenders. Don't want to count that third one for his two attackers. And you need three. I'd have to be using that pawn. We don't want to use that pawn. Bit of bad news there, but again, got away with that this time around. Knight out. Well, I've gone into the full hippo, ignoring that 150 attack style f-pawn push. This is king. And we now have the full thick-skinned hippo. That's something. And it's at this point that we would be looking through all the different pawn pushes. And queenside castle, Solomon's given the advice, you can't muck around, you've got to attack, you've got to go fast, you've got to go on the queen side with your pawns. So there'd be some benefit in this one, the B push, even though normally he only plays that when you have tempo. But it would be starting the pawns down the queen side, which would be a good thing. There would also be potentially the flank pawn. And this is part of the usual advice from the chess giant, that when you've got a three-pawn centre, to attack the outside central pawn. So in some ways, the c5 push may have been the way to go. Also noticing with the rook on d2 that there may be some chance of trapping that knight. I think I actually went a little bit too hard to arrange that, and that may be what's cost me in this game. But we'll move along. We've gone with the B push. His queen's come across, making a battery, aiming down this diagonal. Brought knight across, threatening. So I've now got one attacker, two attacker. He's only got two defenders. And my initial little idea being I can kick one of the two defenders, this knight, kick that knight away. There'll only be one defender, can have a go at that e-pawn. Now, that was a blunder. We're in front. let's take a look at what was the best. B4 wins a rook. Let's have a look at these moves, and then we'll go back to whether or not I think I would have seen this. So instead of queen there, b4, kicking the knight. Yep. It was my original plan, as I just described it, was to kick that knight. Got a little bit fixated on trapping it, hence having the queen to cover b5 and a4. The best move was kicking that knight now. Apparently he wins a rook. Oh, I did mention we could take a quick look at that. Okay, the knight's... That's pretty involved for one of these little streams of moves. Whether I would have won the rook or not so sure, but I think it would have worked quite well. And at the end of all that, saying minus a half for black. Anyway, let's go back to the game as played. Queen forward. Okay, he's pawn forward. What am I going to do? Obviously going to have to move the knight. The knight's threatening his knight. He's moved it. I swear I really should have done that b-pawn push earlier and tried to get the pawn storm on the queen side. Thinking about getting that going now. The rook's covering the a-pawn. The b-pawn is covered by the queen. Hoping to start it going. And what was best now? Just continuing the pawn storm. Lessons learned from this game. Doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be trapping the knight. You can just get those pawns rolling. And that would have been the way to go anyway, so we'll continue. It's going to make the pawn storm a little harder. Bring the knight back. He's attacking on the king side. I'm meant to be getting the pawns going on the queen side. But instead I've thrown the knight in and could go for the dark square bishop. I've really only got the one choice here. Yep. So we've got the knights there. 0.8 of an edge for white, and that's just from the space. I mean, he said that's what the computer seems to think of the hippo from the word go. That you're about down one, but that can quickly turn around with the counterattack. Didn't like the castle, but I was thinking there's a lot of stuff happening over there on that king side. I'm going to get out of dodge. Bad move. And this was another key moment in this game. Let's have a look at best. So he would have been better off heading over the g-pawn. I would have had to have taken back there, freeing up that f-pawn. But it's more that was dumb. And I had a very good knight, and his dark bishop, while not hopeless, I don't think it was good as a knight on c4. So it would have been better to change the queens off and fizzle out the attack that's starting to happen over there. Would have been dropping it from plus 1.5 to plus 0.23. Bit of a mistake. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, didn't. Anyway, that's another lesson learned. An intermezzo move, but I'm throwing away a good knight for an okay bishop. it's bad because still meant to take with the queen. I know I'll end up losing a pawn, but it just diffuses the situation there. And I thought it was kind of okay, but that's very questionable, especially when you see what happens next. But what was best? Just taking the pawn that was threatening and just changing the situation a little here. And this is why Mr. Harry Johnson is an 1800. A brilliant rook going down the exchange, because from there, goodbye my queen. I didn't have too much I could do from Windsor Bishop was right, because should I decide to keep my queen, I need to be taking that pawn with my bishop. And I don't know how much, I think it's all over. A little bit of brilliance there at the end from my opponent, but there were a few things I could have done slightly better on the way through. But it's learning, and this is wheeling up the waterhorse in the Tugg Chess Club in Canberra. Club Championships 2024. That was round 1. Bye for now. There you go. Bye.